Dalton's fist hit the conference table so hard my coffee cup jumped. "You will be at tomorrow's strategy briefing." The words echoed in the silent room. Everyone's eyes darted toward me, then away just as quickly. My throat tightened. "My father's surgery is scheduled for tomorrow morning," I managed to whisper. The room felt smaller suddenly, airless. Dalton leaned across the table, his face inches from mine. "Then cancel it." The words landed like a slap. My stomach twisted into knots. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. He straightened his tie, grabbed his leather folder and walked out. The door clicked shut. I sat there frozen while my colleagues pretended to shuffle papers. Nobody met my eyes. My hands shook as I reached for my phone. A text from the hospital glowed on the screen. "Please confirm Riley Shore as contact for tomorrow's procedure. Surgery scheduled 8 a.m. My vision blurred. I had 24 hours to make an impossible choice. The hallway felt endless as I walked to the elevator. My legs moved on autopilot while my brain screamed at me to turn around, to march back into that conference room and tell Dalton exactly where he could shove his strategy briefing. But I didn't. 'Cause I needed this job. Because my father needed his insurance. Because 6 years of loyalty had to count for something. I pressed the phone to my ear and dialed the hospital. "Evergreen Medical Center, how may I help you?" The receptionist's cheerful voice made everything worse. "I need to reschedule a surgery." My voice cracked on the last word. "Patient name. Henry Shore. He's scheduled for tomorrow at 8. The typing sounds seemed to last forever. "I see the procedure here. Is everything all right?" "Well, nothing was all right. Yes, just a work conflict. Can we move it to next week?" More typing. More waiting. More shame burning through my chest. "We have an opening Thursday the 14th. 2 weeks away." 2 more weeks my father would live with that pain. I watched Dalton through his glass office wall as I ended the call. He sat at his massive desk, laughing at something on his computer screen. Visual. Relaxed. Like he hadn't just forced me to choose between my father's health and my career. Something inside me cracked. Not broke, just cracked enough to let something new slip through. Thought. Cold and clear. "My VP forced me to cancel my father's surgery for a meeting," I whispered to the empty hallway. The next day, he walked into my office for approval. The second part wasn't true yet, but I felt it coming. Like a storm building on the horizon. My phone buzzed. Another email from Dalton. Subject line: tomorrow's agenda. No absences tolerated. I deleted it without reading past the subject. My hands had stopped shaking. That crack inside me widened a little more. I walked back to my desk with my head up and my jaw set. My car was silent except for the hum of traffic outside. I sat in the parking garage, engine off, staring at nothing. My name is Riley Shore. I'm 32 years old. I've worked at Redwood Financial Group for 6 years. Started as a junior analyst fresh out of business school with student loans that made my eyes water and dreams that kept me working past midnight. Climbed to senior financial operations manager through sheer determination and countless sacrificed weekends. Built the quarterly reporting system we still use. Trained half the analysts on the current team. Restructured our vendor contracts and saved the company millions. None of it mattered today. Today I learned that 6 years of loyalty meant nothing compared to Dalton's meeting schedule. My phone rang. Dad's name lit up the screen. I let it ring twice more before answering. "Hey, kiddo." His voice was rough, tired. "Just wanted to check in about tomorrow." The lie tasted bitter. "Actually, Dad, something came up." The silence on the other end lasted 3 seconds. Felt like 3 hours. "Work?" he finally asked. Not angry. Just resigned. Like he'd expected this. "It's complicated. There's this presentation and Dalton needs everyone there and I tried to get out of it but..." "Riley." He cut through my rambling. "It's okay." But it wasn't okay. Nothing about this was okay. "I can reschedule," I said quickly. They had an opening in 2 weeks. Dr. Patterson said it wasn't urgent anyway. Another lie. Dr. Patterson had said the surgery was necessary and shouldn't be delayed unnecessarily. "I just wanted you there," Dad said quietly. 5 words. They hit harder than Dalton's fist on that table. "I know. I'm so sorry." We talked for another minute about nothing important. I hung up and saw my reflection in the rearview mirror. Red eyes. Clenched jaw. Someone I barely recognized. My phone buzzed. Email from Dalton. Meeting moved to 7:30 a.m. Be early. The crack inside me split wider. I arrived at 7:15 a.m. The office was already buzzing. The entire executive team sat around the conference table, coffee steaming, laptops open. Dalton glanced at his watch as I walked in. "Nice of you to finally make it, Riley." His voice carried across the room. Everyone heard. Heat flooded my face. I was 15 minutes early. "Traffic was light," I said evenly, taking my seat. He smirked. "Let's begin. Riley, walk us through the Q4 projections." I opened my laptop, pulled up my presentation. Started explaining the numbers I'd spent 3 weeks perfecting. Dalton interrupted before I finished my second slide. "Those growth estimates seem optimistic. They're based on the 3-year trend analysis, which assumes market conditions remain stable." "Yes, that's standard methodology. Seems risky." He cut me off again, and again, and again. Every point I made he questioned. Every slide he criticized. My colleagues shifted uncomfortably in their seats but said nothing. By the end, my hands were shaking again. "We'll revisit this next week," Dalton announced. "Riley, plan on presenting the revised version. Alone." After the meeting, people filed out quickly. Nobody made eye contact. I gathered my materials with numb fingers. Dalton appeared beside me, dropping a thick folder on the table. "Need these by end of day." I looked down at the unmarked folder. "What is it?" "Budget approvals. Vendor contracts. Standard stuff." He waved his hand dismissively. "Your signature on the authorization forms." Something in his tone made me pause. "Why do you need my signature?" "Because that's how the approval chain works, Riley. Operations manager signs off before CFO review." That was true. But something felt off. "I'll review them this afternoon." "No." His voice hardened. "End of day means end of day. I need those back by 5. He walked away before I could respond. I opened the folder. Pages and pages of contracts, budget allocations, vendor agreements. My signature line highlighted in yellow on every single document. Checked my watch. 4 hours to review what should take 2 days. The crack inside me turned into a canyon. Back at my desk, I spread the documents across every available surface. Coffee went cold in my mug as I read through contract after contract. Line items blurred together. Dollar amounts piled up. And then I saw it. A subcontractor agreement for systems integration services. The vendor was TechBridge Solutions. I'd never heard of them. The amount was staggering. $750,000. I opened our vendor database. No record of TechBridge Solutions. I checked our approved vendor list. Not there either. Strange. Kept reading. Found another one. Consulting services from Apex Strategic Partners. 1.2 million. Also not in our system. My pulse quickened. I pulled up the approval history on our shared drive. Found the folder where Dalton stored his project documentation. Started clicking through files. That's when I found it. A hidden subfolder labeled Special Projects, DP. AP. Dalton Pierce. My hands were shaking again, but not from fear this time. From something else entirely. Something that felt like power. The Special Projects folder contained dozens of invoices. All from vendors I'd never heard of. All approved by Dalton. All with suspiciously round numbers. 750,000. 1.2 million. 800,000. No detailed breakdowns. No scope of work documentation. No delivery verification. Just invoices and approval stamps. I cross-referenced the vendor names with our accounting records. Found payments going out monthly. But when I checked our project management system for the corresponding work, there was nothing. No projects, no deliverables, no results. These companies were getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for absolutely nothing. Or worse, they were shell companies funneling money somewhere else. And Dalton wanted my signature on the next round of approvals. Wanted my clean record, my 6 years of impeccable documentation, to cover whatever this was. My phone buzzed. Dalton. Where are those approvals? I stared at the message. Then at the document spread across my desk. Then at the hidden folder still open on my screen. I typed back. Still reviewing. Found some questions. 3 minutes later, Dalton appeared at my desk. Questions. His smile didn't reach his eyes. About what? Kept my voice steady. These vendors. TechBridge Solutions and Apex Strategic. I can't find them in our approved vendor database. They're new partnerships. I've been working on bringing them on board. For what projects? Systems integration. Strategic consulting. It's all in the documentation. Right, but I don't see project codes or budget allocations in our tracking system. His jaw tightened. That's because I handle these projects directly. VP-level initiatives don't always flow through standard channels. But they still need proper documentation for audit purposes. We stared at each other. The office sounds faded. Riley. His voice dropped low. I need those signatures today. Are you going to be difficult about this? Question hung between us. A threat wrapped in professional language. I thought about my father's surgery. About 2 weeks of pain because of this man. About 6 years of loyalty that earned me nothing but humiliation in conference rooms. I need more time to review properly, I said. That's my job. Dalton leaned close enough that I could smell his expensive cologne. Your job is to do what I tell you. Then he straightened, smoothed his tie, and walked away. I sat there for a full minute before my hands stopped trembling. Then I did something I'd never done before. Copied everything. Every file in that special projects folder. Every invoice, every approval, every suspicious document. Saved them to a personal drive. Encrypted them. Backed them up 3 different ways. My phone buzzed. Dad. How's your day going? I looked at the documents still spread across my desk. At the hidden folder on my screen. At Dalton's empty office across the floor. Getting better, I typed back. For the first time since yesterday's conference room, I meant it. At 4:55 p.m., Dalton appeared at my desk again. The approvals. I handed him the folder. Still unsigned. I'll need until tomorrow. His face flushed red. Riley. I take my responsibilities seriously. I won't sign anything I haven't properly reviewed. That's what you pay me for. He grabbed the folder and stormed back to his office. I watched through the glass walls as he made phone calls, pacing like a caged animal. Something was wrong. Really wrong. If these were legitimate contracts, he wouldn't be this desperate for my signature. I pulled up my email and started documenting everything. Time-stamped. Detailed. Every conversation with Dalton. Every suspicious document. Every attempt to pressure me into signing. My phone rang. Internal extension. Riley Shore. Hi Riley, this is Brenda from legal. Do you have a minute? My stomach dropped. Of course. We're conducting a routine review of vendor contracts and noticed some irregularities. Your name came up as the approving manager on several recent agreements. Can we schedule time to discuss? I glanced at Dalton's office. He was still on the phone, agitated. I'd be happy to discuss. Though I should mention I haven't actually signed the recent batch yet. Silence. You haven't? No. They just came across my desk yesterday. I see. Can you bring the unsigned documents to our meeting? Tomorrow at 10. Absolutely. That night I slept better than I had in weeks. Not because the situation was resolved. 'Cause I'd finally stopped playing defense. The next morning I arrived at 7:45 a.m. with the folder and my documentation. Dalton was already in his office. He saw me through the glass, grabbed his coffee mug and headed straight for my desk. "Morning," I said pleasantly. "Did you sign them?" He didn't bother with pleasantries. "Not yet. I have that meeting with legal at 10 to discuss the vendor review process." I watched his face carefully. His left eye twitched. Just once. "What meeting?" "Brenda from legal called yesterday. Routine vendor contract review. They asked me to bring the pending approvals." The color drained from his face. "You don't need to go to that meeting. I'll handle legal." "It's fine. I don't mind." "Riley." His voice hardened. "I'm telling you not to attend that meeting." We stared at each other again. This time I didn't look away. "I've already confirmed. It would be unprofessional to cancel now." He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Finally turned and walked back to his office. Through the glass, I watched him make another phone call. Watched him argue with whoever was on the other end. At 9:58 a.m., I walked into the legal department with my folder and documentation. Brenda met me in the conference room along with two other people I didn't recognize. "Riley, thanks for coming. This is Paulson from Internal Audit and Kenji from Compliance." We shook hands. My palms were sweating. "Can you walk us through your role in the vendor approval process?" Brenda asked. I explained my position, my responsibilities, the standard procedures I followed. They listened carefully, taking notes. "And these documents?" Brenda gestured to the folder. I opened it, spread the contracts across the table. "Dalton Pierce gave these to me yesterday. Asked for my signature by end of day. Did you sign them?" "No. I found irregularities that concerned me." I walked them through everything. The unknown vendors. The missing documentation. The suspicious amounts. The hidden folder I'd found. They asked questions. Answered truthfully. Showed them my time-stamped documentation of every interaction with Dalton. When I mentioned how he'd reacted to my delay in signing, Brenda and Paulson exchanged meaningful looks. "Has Mr. Pierce ever pressured you to approve questionable documents before?" Kenji asked. I hesitated. "Not documents, no. But yesterday he made me cancel my father's surgery to attend a meeting." The room went silent. "He made you cancel a surgery?" Brenda's voice was sharp. "My father's procedure was scheduled for yesterday morning. During Tuesday's meeting, Dalton demanded I attend his strategy briefing instead. When I mentioned my father's surgery, he told me to cancel it." Kept my voice steady, professional. But my hands were shaking again. "Did you report this to HR?" Paulson asked. "No. I was going to, but then this happened." I gestured to the documents. It felt connected somehow. More meaningful looks between the three of them. "Riley," Brenda said carefully, "we need you to understand something. This investigation isn't routine. We've been building a case against Dalton Pierce for 3 months. Your testimony today is extremely valuable." My mouth went dry. "A case for what?" "We can't discuss details yet. But I can tell you that your refusal to sign these documents may have prevented a serious breach of company policy and possibly federal financial regulations." The room tilted slightly. "We need to ask you not to discuss this meeting with anyone, especially Mr. Pierce. Can you do that?" He nodded. "One more thing," Kenji said. "We're going to need those original documents and your personal documentation. Everything you showed us today." I walked back to my desk in a daze. Dalton was nowhere to be seen. His office was dark. I sat down, opened my email and found a message from him sent 20 minutes ago. "Out for the rest of the day. Forward anything urgent to my cell." I stared at the message. He knew. Somehow he knew that legal had called me in. My desk phone rang. "Riley, sure. It's Dalton." His voice was different. Softer. Almost friendly. "Listen, I think we got off on the wrong foot yesterday. I was under a lot of stress with the executive board presentation coming up." I said nothing. "The vendor contracts, I realize I pushed too hard. Take all the time you need to review them properly. No rush." "Okay." And about your father's surgery. That was insensitive of me. Is he doing all right? Now he cared. Now he asked. It's rescheduled for next week. Good. Look, why don't you take that day off? Family is important. We can manage without you for one morning. The sudden concern felt like poison wrapped in sugar. That's generous. Thank you. We're a team, Riley. I value your contributions to this company. Always have. We hung up. I sat there processing his complete personality reversal. Yesterday he'd forced me to cancel my father's surgery. Today he was offering me time off. Yesterday he'd demanded signatures by end of day. Today I could take all the time I needed. He was scared. Really scared. And he was trying to buy my silence or my cooperation or my loyalty. Too late for all three. My email pinged. Message from HR. Please schedule a meeting with Cordelia Watts, Director of Human Resources, at your earliest convenience regarding a confidential personnel matter. Clicked reply. Available this afternoon at 2 p.m. Response came back in 30 seconds. Confirmed. Conference Room C. At 1:55 p.m., I walked into Conference Room C. Cordelia was already there, along with Brenda from legal and someone new. A man in an expensive suit with a briefcase. Riley, thank you for coming. This is Attorney Wallace from our external counsel. We shook hands. My heart was pounding. I want to be clear that you're not in any trouble, Cordelia began. We've asked you here because we need your cooperation with an ongoing investigation into financial irregularities within the executive division. For the next hour they walked me through everything. Dalton had been running a scheme for almost 2 years. Fake vendors. Inflated contracts. Kickback arrangements. Money laundering. Everything I'd suspected and worse. Much worse. Your refusal to sign those documents stopped the next phase of the scheme, Wallace explained. We've been monitoring Dalton's activities but didn't have enough evidence to act. Your documentation of his coercive behavior and your testimony about the vendor irregularities gave us what we needed. What happens now? My voice sounded distant. Dalton Pierce is being placed on immediate administrative leave pending investigation. The case will be referred to federal authorities. And we need to discuss your role moving forward. Cordelia leaned forward. The operations department needs leadership. Your performance reviews are exemplary. Your integrity in this situation has been remarkable. We'd like to offer you the position of Interim Director of Financial Operations. Blinked. That's 2 levels above my current position. You've earned it. The role comes with a significant salary increase and a seat in executive meetings. If you perform well during the interim period, which we have no doubt you will, the position becomes permanent. I thought about Dalton's corner office, his view of the city, his authority, all crumbling because he thought he was untouchable. There's one more thing, Brenda said. Dalton will likely attempt to contact you. If he does, don't engage. Forward everything to us immediately. He may try to threaten you, bribe you, or manipulate you. Document it all. I nodded slowly. When does the administrative leave start? It already has. Security escorted him from the building an hour ago. His access has been revoked. His office is being secured as we speak. Everything was happening so fast. Tuesday morning I'd been humiliated in a conference room. Thursday afternoon I was being offered a director position. I need to ask, I said carefully. The meeting on Tuesday. The strategy briefing. Was it even necessary? Cordelia shook her head. We reviewed the agenda. It was a routine quarterly review that could have been rescheduled or conducted without you. Mr. Pierce's insistence on your attendance appears to have been an attempt to exert control and test your compliance. He'd made me cancel my father's surgery for nothing. For a power play. The anger I'd been holding back surged hot and fierce. I accept the interim director position. Excellent, Cordelia smiled. We'll process the paperwork immediately. You can move into the director's office tomorrow morning. That evening, I sat in my car in the same parking garage where I'd cried 2 days ago. But I wasn't crying now. I dialed Dad's number. Hey kiddo. Hey Dad. The surgery is still on for next week, right? Thursday at 8. Dr. Patterson confirmed this morning. Good. I'm taking the day off. I'll be there. Silence. Then, what changed? Everything. I'll tell you about it when I see you. Riley, are you okay? I looked up at the Redwood Financial Group building. At the window that used to belong to Dalton Pierce. Yeah, Dad. I really am. We talked for 20 minutes. I told him about the investigation, the interim position, everything. He listened quietly. I'm proud of you, he said finally. Standing up when it mattered. I didn't really have a choice. Everyone has a choice. You chose integrity over convenience. That's not easy. After we hung up, I sat there watching people stream out of the building. Heading home to families, to lives, to problems big and small. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. You made a serious mistake. We need to talk. Dalton. I forwarded the message to Brenda immediately. She called within minutes. Don't respond. We're documenting everything. Has he tried calling? Not yet. If he does, let it go to voicemail. If he shows up at your home or anywhere else, call security and us immediately. This is harassment and potentially witness intimidation. After she hung up, I blocked Dalton's number. Then I drove home, ordered pizza, and watched terrible reality TV until I fell asleep on the couch. Friday morning I arrived early. The director's office was waiting. Someone had already moved the nameplate. Riley Shore, Director of Financial Operations. The office was bigger than my apartment. Windows on 2 walls. A real desk, not a cubicle partition. A door I could close. I set down my bag and just stood there for a moment taking it in. A knock on the doorframe made me turn. 3 of my colleagues stood there, smiling. Congratulations, Taylor said. She was one of the analysts I'd trained. This is amazing. Deserved, added Priya. Everyone knows what you did. We're glad you're in charge now, said Lucas. Dalton was a nightmare. They filed in, offering congratulations and support. More people followed. By 9 o'clock, half the department had stopped by. At 10, Cordelia appeared. Morning, Riley. Settling in. Still processing. She smiled. Good. I need to brief you on the investigation timeline. Federal prosecutors are reviewing the case. They'll likely want to interview you as a witness. Okay. Dalton is already trying to negotiate. His lawyers are claiming he was following standard industry practices and that any irregularities were honest mistakes. I laughed. Couldn't help it. That's ridiculous. It's desperate. Which means he knows how much trouble he's in. Your documentation and testimony are damaging to his defense. Good. Cordelia's expression turned serious. This will get harder before it's over. Court dates, depositions, media attention. Redwood Financial Group is a public company. This story will make news. I understand. Are you sure you want to go through with this? You could choose not to cooperate. Find a new job elsewhere. Start fresh. I thought about my father waiting 2 extra weeks for surgery because of Dalton's power play. About young analysts being bullied and manipulated. About the next Riley Shore who might not have the documentation or courage to stand up. I'm sure. Then let's get to work. The next 3 weeks were a blur. Federal investigators. Depositions. Meetings with prosecutors. Learning my new role while cooperating with an ongoing criminal investigation was like juggling knives while running a marathon. But my team was solid. They stepped up, covering when I had to be in legal meetings or prosecutor interviews. On Thursday, 2 weeks after everything began, I took the day off. The hospital waiting room smelled like disinfectant and weak coffee. I sat with Mom, holding her hand, waiting for news about Dad's surgery. Dr. Patterson appeared at noon. Everything went perfectly. He'll be in recovery for another hour. Then you can see him. Relief flooded through me. Mom squeezed my hand tight. When they finally let us back, Dad was groggy but smiling. Hey kiddo. Hey Dad. You came. Of course I came. He reached for my hand. The new job treating you well? It's challenging. But good. Good. He closed his eyes, drifting. You know what the best part is? You don't have to explain your choices to anyone anymore. You earned your seat at that table. He fell asleep holding my hand. Mom and I sat there in comfortable silence, watching him breathe steadily. 6 months later, I stood in front of the board of directors. The interim tag had been removed from my title. Director of Financial Operations was now permanent. Ms. Shore, the chairman began, your handling of the financial irregularities investigation demonstrated exceptional judgment and integrity. The board unanimously approves your permanent appointment to this position. Applause filled the boardroom. Afterward, Cordelia pulled me aside. The criminal trial starts next month. Federal prosecutors are confident. What are they charging him with? Wire fraud, money laundering, embezzlement. 37 counts. His defense is falling apart. Turns out those vendors were his cousin's shell companies. He made over $4 million in the scheme. $4 million. While denying my raise request. While forcing me to cancel my father's surgery. While treating everyone like disposable resources. How long will he get? 15 to 20 years if convicted on all counts. I tried to feel satisfied. Vindicated. Instead I just felt tired. How are you doing? Cordelia asked gently. Good days and bad days. Therapy helps. Good. Keep taking care of yourself. You've been through trauma. Don't minimize it. He nodded. She was right. The whole experience had been traumatic. But I was healing. A year after that horrible Tuesday, I sat in my office watching snow fall on the city. The trial had ended with guilty verdicts on all counts. Dalton Pierce was sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. Dad was recovered fully from his surgery and back to his woodworking hobby. The department I led had grown, thriving under leadership that valued people over power plays. My desk phone rang. Riley Shore. Hi, this is Chancellor Ortega from State Business School. I'm calling because we'd like to invite you to speak to our MBA candidates about ethical leadership in corporate environments. Smiled. I'd be honored. After we hung up, I pulled up my father's contact and sent a text. Dinner Sunday. My treat. His response came immediately. Can't wait, kiddo. Proud of you every day. I set down my phone and looked around my office. At the view I'd earned through integrity, not manipulation. The team photos on my wall. At the nameplate that no longer said, interim. This wasn't the revenge story Dalton probably told himself in prison. I didn't destroy him deliberately. I simply refused to let his cruelty define my worth. I chose integrity when convenience was easier. I chose truth when silence was safer. And I watched as his arrogance collapsed under the weight of his own choices. The best revenge wasn't revenge at all. It was building something better.